Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and as you've probably deduced by the title of this video, we're going to be putting a 6.0 transmission cooler in our 7.3. So stay tuned if you want to see that. Alright, so first of all, this is the 6.0 transmission cooler. As you can see, compared to my hand and such, it's pretty big. So some of the reasons you'd want to do this is the 7.3 actually has like a pretty small transmission cooler, depending on what you get, which truck you get. So like the Super Duties had one that was about this big, and then the old body style has one that's about as big as this phone. So yeah, you can see that that's a pretty big difference. So yeah, I figure we can nix this problem before it even becomes a problem, because yeah, nobody likes transmission problems, right? This should keep your transmission much cooler and keep it from slipping or having any future problems. Should keep the transmission fluid that lasts longer and just your clutches in general. So yeah, let's put this thing on there. So there you can see the old transmission cooler, which maybe I was exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, it's almost the size of the phone. So this thing's tiny in comparison, let's be honest. That other one's gonna be much better at doing what it's supposed to be doing. So, so here basically I'm just gonna pop this strut off, unbolt the bottom of the condenser, and then it should slip between here. So yeah, let's do that real quick. Alright, so the next thing you're going to want to do is start working on disconnecting your lines. You can see right here, this is one of my transmission lines. My other one's cut a little bit short because I had a leak where the bracket held them, so I just chopped it off there so it stopped leaking. So yours will come out a little bit further, but this line connects to this little barb right here. This line goes to the original transmission cooler and then goes through the transmission cooler, comes back down here into this barb here, which uses the radiator to cool the transmission. I think I'm going to bypass all that because I don't think it's necessary to go through 190-degree radiator before it goes into my cooler. So I'm going to go straight from my cooler, or straight from my cooling line straight to my cooler. So alright, so I think we've pulled off enough stuff that we're ready to put this on. Basically I just got this loose so that we'll be able to slip. We should be able to pull this forward far enough to slip our transmission cooler up inside of there. Yeah. One thing you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to pull these bolts out from the inside and then flip this bracket around and put it on this black piece on the other side on both of these, because the stock 6.0 intercooler like tabs fit right there. So that's one thing we're gonna have to do. And then also down here, we're gonna have to make some brackets. I'll show you in a second, but we're gonna have to make some brackets that hold our intercooler or our transcooler up so it doesn't just flop around down here. But yeah, I'm gonna pull these bolts out up here and then we'll slide this transcooler in and see what it looks like. so it's in there. You can see that these line up with the old holes. So yeah, you can see that it lines up pretty well. After you flip the nut plate onto the other side, everything kind of just lines up. I did end up using a little washer here. Not a washer, a nut here. It's about a 1/4 inch thick. I'm using it as a spacer in between the two pieces. So let's take that behind, like so, stick our bolt through, and on through into our nut plate on the other side. So you can see that it's being held about a 1/4 inch off. And the reason for that is that there's not a lot of tolerance there. So if you put that all the way down, the transcooler will eventually wear through your radiator, and that'll be a big leak. So that's not good. Down here, you gotta straighten these out. They're usually bent that way, 90 degrees. So we straighten that out. And then I put a little bit of a profile into this whole thing because, again, I did that to pretty much protect the radiator from this wearing through it eventually. So yeah, just give it like a little bend out, like, I don't know, 20 degrees maybe. Bend back down. Yeah, and then pretty much the idea is to line it up with, the back of this, the core support here. And I'm just gonna bolt it right there. So this isn't very thick, but it should do the job at like holding it from like going one way or the other too much. So it should be able to hold it, you know, in this area, and it's not going to hit against anything. So it doesn't hit your radiator until it's like way out here. But yeah, and it also looks like it clears the condenser pretty well in there from what I can tell. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot of worry about the condenser. It's more the radiator. But yeah, so I got some hardware here, and we're gonna put that on real quick. All right, there the brackets are put in. So that's all I did. They're pretty sturdy now. I mean, you can still bend them, but I mean, I can bend this too, so. Yeah, next is to route our lines. So this guy and this guy. So there shouldn't be any particular way to, or need, I guess. Yeah, there shouldn't be any particular way that the fluid goes through this. It can go through either way, so we're not worried about which side is the supply and which side is the return. I also don't know that information, though I could probably look it up. I don't think it really matters for this application. All right, these are the lines we're going to use. So all this is a 1/2 inch inner diameter hose adapted to a 3/8 inner diameter hose for both sides. These stock tubes here are actually 5/16 inner diameter. So if you want to use the stock tubes, you'd have to find a barb that's 5/16 to 1/2. I use these 3/8 to 1/2 barbs because they were readily available at my hardware store. So yeah, let me put these on and show you how they route and how they look. yeah, that about wraps it up for this video. We were able to install the transmission cooler with no real problems. We had to make a couple of bends to the brackets on the cooler, and it bolted right up for the most part. Make sure you use the spacers behind the two side brackets so that it doesn't rub through your radiator. Yeah, I think the project cost me like $35. The cooler itself was 20 bucks from the junkyard. I got about $10 in line and maybe $5 in the fittings. So yeah, I mean, for 35 bucks and some security against, you know, rebuilding what would be like a $2,800 to rebuild on your transmission, I feel like that's a pretty good trade-off. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, leave them down below. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. I'll see you in the next one.